Hey everybody, happy Sunday morning. It is CALLOUS live with the CALLOUS Invitational 6 third place match between SoulWind and Umbry. Man, what a clash we have here. SoulWind, one of the best to ever do it. I'm talking Pokemon overall, not specifically ADV. One of the best players of all time. Umbry is also an all-rounder. She's good at doubles, Gen 7, Gen 4, and obviously Gen 3. She had that really good SPL run, I want to say 2 years ago, 7 wins, I think, which is really good. Last year was her CALLOUS Invitational debut. She went out with a 1-2 record, but I'd put a huge asterisk that I think she had the toughest 1 through 3 pairing of anybody in the tour. This year, coming back with a vengeance, and was in the winner's bracket final, did lose to H-Clad, who is now waiting in the grand final for whoever wins this set. And now it's going to come down to these two. It's a third place match, so like I said, losers out in third, but no matter what, money has been secured. So it's going to be $500 plus even to the loser here, but for the winner, it's going to be $750 plus and the potential to beat H-Clad and up that to $1,250 plus. There's a lot on the line, and this is now the best of 5 stages of the tournament. So honestly, with this being a best of 5 and with these two traditionally being stallier, more defensive players, this could be a grind. That being said, as we've seen in the opening turns here, SoulWind, unsurprisingly, has simply stuck to the strategy, stuck to what's gotten him here in the first place. Umbry has mixed it up and has led Medicham and then gone to Charizard here. Hasn't shown anything else, but clearly this is an offensive team from Umbry. SoulWind, like I said, has really not deviated much at all throughout the tournament. I don't know the exact ratio here of TSS versus everything else, but it is overwhelmingly more TSS than anything for SoulWind. Very little deviation. He has once in a blue moon switched it up and gone to like a balanced physical team or whatever, but it is overwhelmingly just TSS over and over again for SoulWind. Umbry leans stall as well, very much a TSS player herself, but she's been more willing than SoulWind to deviate. She has a couple times busted out real wildcard teams like this that are completely different from her usual, and we'll see how often she's willing to do that against SoulWind, what her level of confidence is, especially if she gets down a game or two, to deviate, and whether or not it pays off. I think throwing him some curveballs, I think Pokemon like Medicham, like Charizard, are good brings into SoulWind. Now, granted, Charizard is not fantastic into Milotic, but still, it could do work, and I think it's a good call in general. I think it's the kind of Pokemon that is generally strong against TSS. Honestly, so are Medicham and Regice. I think Umbry has the right idea with this game 1. I think this is a smart team to lead. But, that being said, Umbry is down a Mon early on here. I think her position's fine, though. She got a ton of damage off. So the Scarm is at a little over half. The Milo got burnt, is very healthy otherwise, though, and has Marvel Scale. T-Tar got out of the way with a small amount of chip damage, and then Claydol at 10% is on his deathbed. So no, Medicham didn't actually get a knockout, but it did work. And we've got our first little pause here. I don't think the match is going to be too slow in this regard. Like I said, we might have quite a few stall-on-stall games potentially, especially if it goes to 5. But these are not generally super slow players. Now, I do respect and appreciate that they can be bothered to slow down and take the tournament seriously, really think it over. They know what's on the line. They're playing for a good amount of real money here. But generally speaking, these are not the world's slowest players. They're not clickers either, but they're not snails. I think that play-wise, we should move along at a reasonable pace. Umbry does catch a 10% added effect in the para on the T-Tar. There was also the burn from before, so SoulWind suffering from a couple of those things. Milo might have refresh, but doing so here might get it thunderbolted, and I don't know if that's worthwhile. Umbry does indeed press her advantage, not going to let the refresh happen for free, of course, so she T-bolts, and T-Tar takes it. T-Tar's going to be paralyzed now. It showed Earthquake before, but Suicune comes in for free. Skarm is going to be the answer, and Surf is an awkward roll at 27%. It looks like Skarm should live a follow-up. Going to be CM just in case Protect comes down, or Spikes. It punishes either, and it does end up being Layer 1 of Spikes. So here comes Milo now. +1 Surf, whatever, 17%. But the bigger picture issue, can Milo actually do anything to the Suicune? And the answer is often no. So Regice comes in to the Toxic. Not sure what that tells us about Milo. It obviously would have subbed there if it had it, so it's clearly not Subcoon. It may or may not be Crocoon. That's yet to be determined. Umbry's actually going to Ice Beam into the Milo there is a decent prediction. Does more to the tire than Thunderbolt would have since it's got Stab, and it's going to be enough for the follow-up to kill it, actually. So T-Tar actually really suffered from that para, really limited its effectiveness throughout the game. I feel like it didn't do a lot. It got like an Earthquake off once or whatever, but I feel like the T-Tar really didn't do too much there. And Umbry does nab a kill. So we have a relatively even game right now. The fact that that one layer of Spikes did manage to get off very well could matter. We know that at least 3 of the 5 pokes remaining for Umbry are grounded, potentially 4 of them, depending on what the last poke is. And SoulWind figuring out what he wants to go to, but we can just check on the game state real quick while we do that. So the Zard is healthy, the Regice, as we see in front of us, is healthy but poisoned. Meta's taken decent chunk at about 2/3. Coon is pretty healthy. Has only shown Combine Surf, so we don't know the set. The doll still has not managed to sneak in after that one turn. This might be a good time, honestly. If you think you're faster than Regice, maybe you come in now, threaten a boom, and you can get cute and Earthquake the meta if you think it's going to come in and try to absorb the boom, stuff like that. Maybe now might be a good time for the doll. It's almost certainly faster than the Regice. Even at minus speed, it's probably faster. Skarm is at 38%. And pretty vulnerable to the Coon, to the Zard. If it's a mixed gross, then that would hurt it. And then the Milo is really not in good shape. Only 35% and still burned. So I don't think this is over by any means. But I think I like Umbry's position here. She's really gotten meaningful chip on a lot of the Mons for SoulWind. And SoulWind really thinking it over. Taking a minute and a half and change. Still figuring out what to do here. Without knowing the full team, it's hard for me to say what I would do. I would assume there's a Blissey in the back for SoulWind. Last poke could be Dugtrio, could be Gengar, could be Aerodactyl, something along those lines. It's probably as simple as like Blissey Dugtrio or something very close to that. Blissey Gengar. SoulWind is going to opt for Skarm. I kind of liked the Claydol play here. But this has some merit. It's going to be a failed Protect, however, for SoulWind, allowing Umbry to sneak the Charizard in, which is obviously a one-hit KO threat from this spot. And it's going to be Last Poke Arrow for SoulWind, so almost certainly going to be Last Poke Bliss. It could be Last Poke Jirachi for SoulWind instead of Bliss if you feel like you need another Rock Resist. I don't hate that either, but very likely one of those two. But Umbry was clearly not anticipating Aerodactyl, or she would not have gone for the Sunny Day here. As it turns out, this is just going to be a swing and a miss. Now, granted, the Sunny Day does get rid of the Sand, and Umbry's last is not going to be T-Tire, so Sand is permanently gone. So that's going to benefit the Suicune at least, and potentially some other things in the back. And the double back for SoulWind. Umbry, of course, can't stay in there. Can't risk the Rock Slide on her Charizard. So she goes to the Coon, which is interesting. I'm not sure what that was playing around. Is that the ideal thing to take the Rock Slide? That actually could have gone badly. Rock Slide there takes, 30, 35% or whatever. It kind of incentivizes SoulWind to go for Rock Slide again. But then again, the meta, which is the only Rock Resist that Umbry's shown, Metacham doesn't count, isn't at its healthiest right now. It's at 2/3, and there is the Spike down. Aerodactyl in the late game could actually be a big threat for SoulWind, and he does get a recover off, and he's benefiting from actual lefties thanks to the Sunny Day, removing the Sand. And Meteor Mash is going to whiff, so all of a sudden my logic is in a good place. Will it refresh here and get boomed on? It's a mash yet again. That Surf was very underwhelming because the Sunny Day, but now that's gone. So obviously, subsequent serves, if Milo goes for that, will do more. And as you see, 31%. Umbry afraid to pull the trigger on Boom, keeps mashing, and she's going to pull it back to Regice here. SoulWind showing the courage and outplaying Umbry on a couple of those turns, making that meta pretty low and almost useless. It's going to have to sneak in and get a Boom off at some point. Now Umbry's going to over-predict and go for Ice Beam, which turns out to not be the right call. She does get a crit, though. There's Recover, and T-Bolt trying to do as much as she can on the way out, but Regice is about to succumb to that poison, will only survive one more turn, and Surf is going to kill it right there. So SoulWind reclaims the lead, but again, a lot of SoulWind stuff is not in great shape. Sub and Recover, sure, call it a trade-off. Milo's healthy, but the substitute happens. Sunny Day and Refresh to finally get rid of that burn. SoulWind's had that option all along, but has looked for an opportunity to safely do it. And SoulWind should be able to safely stall out these Fire Blasts here. They're only doing about a third despite the presence of Sunny Day. It's just not going to be enough. And now Meta sneaks in on a Recover turn. That's a good play for Umbry. You've got to just click Boom now, regardless of what you think SoulWind's going to do. And indeed, that's what she does. Takes the Scarm with her. Leaves us in a 3-4 situation with SoulWind in the lead and unreveals for both. We end up again with Kun on Milo here. The Kun seems like a real threat as long as he doesn't get it blown up on by the Clay Doll, because then you can just follow up with Aerodactyl. Crow Kun being the ideal set here. But even just a boring Roar Kun would be fine as well. So there's Rest, immediately getting rid of the Toxic. The Surf here, irrelevant, barely negates lefties. Now does SoulWind play around the possibility of a Crow Kun? Be terrible for him to switch in Clay Doll or Aerodactyl here and get it hit by a Sleep Talk Surf. That would just be a game-losing play. That would be throwing it away. But at the same time, if it is Crow Kun, can you really stay in here with Milotic? It becomes unwinnable. You just sit there and let it set up. So rocking a hard place for SoulWind. He really needs it to be Last Poke Bliss or Last Poke Jirachi that could potentially handle this. And Umbry, I don't know if it's mind games and getting cute or if it really isn't that set, but she does not show Sleep Talk. So it could be Roar Kun, which is the best case scenario for SoulWind. He really doesn't want it to be Sleep Talk. Sleep Talk Kun would be devastating here. It makes every single switch so risky for him. Umbry rests again. We're going to find out in a moment. Is she a genius? Has she convinced SoulWind that there is no Sleep Talk, but there actually is? It would be such a godlike play if she really had it this whole time and just out-mind-gamed SoulWind, but it appears that she genuinely does not have it. That being said, SoulWind doesn't pull the trigger on the Boom. Does he not have it? I would think that he does. Refresh Doll is such a not thing these days, but could it be an old-school Refresh Doll? Could it be an Ice Beam Doll? Could it be some kind of variant that doesn't have Explosion? I'm skeptical. I feel like it should and does have Boom. But if for whatever reason it doesn't, this Kun could be a huge issue. It does have Boom, but it comes up short. But that doesn't matter because of the Aerodactyl follow-up. I don't know if SoulWind managed to convince Umbry that it doesn't have Boom, or if SoulWind was just really hesitant to pull the trigger, but he managed to get what he wanted, which is for Umbry to stay in and let the Kun take the Boom. If something else took the Boom, I think the Kun had a chance to win that game for Umbry, so I don't know if that was a great mind game for SoulWind, or just kind of a mistake for Umbry not pulling it back. But it is the doll finally booming on the Kun. Something other than the Kun had to get blown up on for Umbry to win that game. But when the second SoulWind landed that boom on the Kun, the game was effectively over. Easy peasy for Aerodactyl to clean it up. A few double edges later, and the score is 1-0 SoulWind, reminding you all that it is a best of 5 rather than a best of 3. So still a lot of room to play for both of these individuals. And Umbry having brought an offensive team, and like I said, I like this decision, I like the team, I like this bring against SoulWind, but having it not work out, will she now just default to her usual TSS and get into what is almost certainly going to be a mirror match against SoulWind, or will she decide, I'm going to stick to the game plan? We think that these kind of teams with Breakers, Charizard, Metacham, what have you, are good in this matchup, so I'm going to stick to that. Very curious what she does. The safe thing and the predictable thing is that she defaults and goes back to her usual TSS, and we get into almost certainly a mirror here. But Umbry definitely has the capability of switching it up, and I would love to see that. That is certainly a switch up. No way that I or SoulWind would have anticipated that. It's a wheezing lead, which could be just about anything. It could be a boom spam team down to like a last Cocoon or something. It could be a full-on stall team. Back in the day, wheezing was only used on stall. Man, could be a mixed offense. Wheezing lead is going to throw SoulWind for a loop. I love what Umbry's doing. I love that she is mixing it up and throwing him some weird angles that he almost certainly didn't prepare for. And by the way this is played in the opening couple turns, it looks to me like a stall team from Umbry, but nevertheless kind of an unconventional one. It was really good there. That was a great opening line. So SoulWind brings Milotic again, which I think is a great call, because Umbry, who is prone to switch it up and bring mixed offenses, the Milotic is like the best thing you can have against a mixed offense, so I think SoulWind has also prepped well. I think Milo twice is a great bring. But then Umbry, anticipating an opening line along those lines, Will-O-Wisp on the Milo, who's obviously going to stay in and refresh. Okay, well, I'll just thief your lefties. So really well prepared for both of them. Great opening lines. You could see the amount of preparation and the amount of thought that went into the opening sequences and the team brings for both players. Really love what they've both done up to this point. And this one should be a good one. I think we're looking at stall on stall here. Sludge Bomb coming down on Milo. Hey, it all adds up. It doesn't have lefties anymore. And SoulWind did Umbry a favor in that regard and went ahead and made Sand. So, gonna make life more difficult for Milo than it otherwise would be. Jirachi in on Gar. We haven't yet seen what, if anything, can switch in on Will-O-Wisp. And the answer apparently is nothing unless there happens to be a heal bell in the back. So Rachi going to have to deal with that burn, but Psychic and an irrelevant Specs drop on Gar switches it up now to Thunderbolt, which is wise. Would have died, the Gar would have, to the Thunderbolt with the Specs drop there. Maybe would have died anyway, but gives herself a chance to find a Serene Grace para on the tower, which does not come. Looking like a special tower, which is par for the course when paired with Fortress. You want to be able to consistently remove a Gengar that would block your Rapid Spin. And there's Roar from Umbry, who is having a hard time keeping spikes down in the face of this Fori. Back to Wheezing now, and there is Rapid Spin, but Wheezing here with the ability to threaten a Will-O-Wisp or a Sludge Bomb, whatever it may be. Doubles back to Skarm, interesting. So Milo has the choice now. You can recover if you want, but I'm getting a spike down, and SoulWind is not comfortable with it. Immediately goes back to the Rapid Spinner in Fori. Wheezing again with the chance to just clip Will-O-Wisp here, but again she makes this double back and puts SoulWind in the same position. Milo, do you want to recover? Are you letting me get a spike? And SoulWind again is not allowing that. He immediately goes to the Rapid Spinner, will not concede an inch in this spike war, but Umbry makes the same exact double back for the third time. SoulWind, however, switches it up and goes to T-Tower rather than Milo, knows that Milo cannot do this forever and is really getting low, so something's got to give. Over and over, Umbry makes the same double back and forces SoulWind to make some decisions, and every single time it is Spike immediately met by the Fortress, and immediately Rapid Spin comes down. SoulWind has shown the full 6, Umbry still with half of her team unrevealed. Will-O-Wisp is not that exciting when it's on Blissey. Anything other than Bliss would have been good. Here comes Doll, and there's a Wish, which can be passed to, certainly the Milotic, but anybody who needs it. Cheetar is actually going to be the recipient, and Psychic there trying to snipe the Milotic or the Gar. Had SoulWind gone to that, but that's not the way it worked out. Now they're going to exchange heavy attacks in EQ and Crunch. Earthquake there did 52, and T-Tar survived at 54, so there was a chance to live that Earthquake and kill the Doll. That was a damage roll situation, and Umbry there is going to get the better end of it. Had it done 52 again, as an example, T-Tar would have survived at 2%, come back with a crunch, and we'd be looking at a real different game. Umbry without Claydol, I think, would have a hard time in this game because Fori would set up 3 layers always, and Umbry wouldn't be able to remove it, and this would be a lot tougher than it needs to be. Granted, Weezing and Skarm are immune to spikes, but presumably there's at least a thing, maybe both things in the back that are not. Here comes the Metagross, which led off the game. Just going to click mash. Yep. Non-CB mash, obviously. And mash again does not seem to be a mixed gross, or obviously you would have gone for Thunder Punch or HP Fire or whatever there if you had that option. So the mashes have never missed and never attack raised, just normal mashes over and over again. Skarm dipped briefly into the yellow but leftied out of it. And unsurprisingly, there's a Bliss in the back, so TSS for both players. Like I said, we're looking at stall on stall, which I would expect quite a few times over the course of this best of 5. But Umbry taking the initiative and going for Calm Mind here. CM Bliss actually seems difficult if she doesn't get it boomed on. Fori here might give us a nurse moment here. Blissy's got to be a little panicky. And here's Weezing trying to come into boom. Not what happens. Comes in on Bliss instead. This might actually be a reverse moment, a reverse nurse moment. The Weezing could blow on the Bliss as well. And SoulWind thought that might happen, which is why he went to Gengar there. Wants that, obviously, to be what gets exploded on rather than Blissey. So Protect and Will-O-Wisp now. Jirachi comes in. Gengar seems like an annoying poke for Umbry, and she's not willing to risk the Blissey. She makes that very clear. CM Bliss seems to be her win condition, so even though Blissey is a very safe and very traditional switch-in to Gengar, she's really worried about Boom. Jirachi is also CM, though, so she actually has double CM'er here to try to close out the game with her stall team. And here's Calm Mind number 2. Rachi's burnt, so doesn't need to worry about anything like T-Wave, though it's unlikely Blissey has that. Wish Bliss is almost always just soft-boiled Wish, Ice Beam, S-Toss. Thunderbolt, underwhelming at +2, 19%. And because of the burn, Blissey actually might win this 1v1. It's a lot easier for her. She normally loses handily to this Jirachi. This set of Blissey loses basically always to Jirachi, if not for the burn. But the great equalizer, the burn. I mean, to be fair, Umbry chose to let the Jirachi take that Will-O-Wisp. Had the Blissey in the back, could have had that take it instead, but Umbry stayed in, took the burn, gonna have to play with it for the rest of the game. There's Psychic, 16%, Ice Beam, wow, 50% Snipe. That doll must not have been that bulky. And now Dugtrio with the follow-up, but that's not going to kill Bliss, and it might die to Ice Beam here. It does. I don't know if the crit mattered or not, depends on EVs, but this game is unraveling for Umbry. Loses 2 pokes to Bliss in quick succession, and all of a sudden SoulWind threatening to go up 2-0 in this series and put Umbry in a really bad spot in which she would have to rattle off 3 in a row. Stranger things have happened. I mean, well, we've seen back sweeps in the grand finals, never mind the third place match. So getting up 2-0 isn't the be-all, end-all, but it's obviously not where you want to be and not the way that Umbry envisioned this. She is going to have to buckle down and find a way to bring this one back. Maybe CM Bliss is the key to victory. Unfortunately for her, being down 4-5, I think at least 2 of SoulWind's pokes, if not 3 of them, do in fact have Explosion. And that's going to make it really difficult because obviously you don't want to trade 1 for 1 when you're already behind. So I think SoulWind is in a good position once again in this game. Not calling it over, but Umbry really is going to have to get there. Going to have to play really well and possibly catch some hacks as well to claw back into this. Any spikes that SoulWind sets as well are going to be there for the rest of the game. So Blissey and Jirachi are going to just have to deal with those. Rapid spin, that's the other thing. Umbry is never going to get her own spikes to stick. It's bad. SoulWind has played it right. SoulWind has understood the matchup, understood which pokes are important, and now given which Mons are alive for both, And granted, Umbry does have chances there to hacks out, like a crit sludge bomb there would have changed the game in a big way, killing the Bliss, but that didn't happen. But yeah, given the pokes that are left, it seems pretty difficult for Umbry to win. I would have probably stayed in there and gone for it, crit sludge bomb, whatever. Maybe if you land a crit on the Milo or the Bliss or whatever, you get a kill and you change things there. I think Umbry missed an opportunity. I don't think you can just do this loop. You'll lose. Umbry will lose always doing this loop. You have to play for hacks. It's the only way. If they play the grindy game, the long game, SoulWind is going to win every time. There's no way for Umbry to grind SoulWind out. It's always going to be 3 layers of spikes versus 0 layers of spikes. And the Scarm is absolutely useless for Umbry. It's going to be met by the Fortress every single time, and there is just nothing that she can do about that. Umbry has to start playing more aggressively. The only way out of this game is to attack and fish for some hacks. You're gonna need crits. You're gonna need nonsense. There's no way around it. Click Sludge Bomb right here. Yeah, like right there. You gotta just like crit poison the Milo or something. She's just playing too passively. You're not going to accomplish anything with the Scarm. Every single time you go to Scarm, Fortress is going to come in, and there's nothing you can do to stop that. You can roar all you want. All you're going to do is waste PP. SoulWind's not even going to stay in here to Thunderbolt or Will-O-Wisp. He's just going to, every single time, go to the Fortress. That works as well. Taunt is good as well, but Scarm is never, ever, ever keeping a layer of spikes up. It's never going to happen. This is, again, just going to prompt out Fori. I'm not seeing the line that Umbry's going for here. I feel like she's not seeing the end game here. I'm not clear what plan she's going for. Maybe she's trying to bait out a boom for SoulWind, like right there. Maybe she's trying to fish for Fori to boom, and she's going to double back to Scarm or something, but that's not the way she's playing it. She's on the find hacks with Bliss plan. Find a freeze, find a para, what have you. I don't even know if that helps her enough, frankly. I think she just has to click attacks and just get there. It would be Ice Beam for me with Bliss over Thunderbolt basically every time. You got to find a freeze. I don't think Para's good enough. The Wheezing should be taking as many opportunities as it can get to Sludge Bomb, except for this one because you get burnt. Alright, I hate being that guy. I think this one's over. I do. I don't think Umbry can win this anymore. Even if Last Poke CM Bliss could win it in theory, it's just going to get boomed on. I don't see a way out, and I think this is going to be a 2-0 victory for SoulWind here. And I don't know where that leaves. I don't know where that leaves Umbry going into Game 3 in an 0-2 hole. She tried to mix it up and go mixed offense. Didn't work. Tried to go back to her own roots, her own comfort, really stally. Play him in a stall mirror match. Didn't work. What do you do now? I hope Umbry is not the type to lose confidence in herself or get discouraged. I don't know her well enough on a personal level to know how she deals with this situation, but this is one of those moments where you separate the good from the great. You know, a good player might go, all right, you know, I had a good run. SoulWind's a good opponent. It's okay if I lose. It is what it is. I guess I'm not winning. I guess it's not my day. Or a great player might say, fuck that. We're going to go one game at a time. I'm still in this. I'm still a good player. I can beat this guy 3 in a row. Let's go one game at a time, see what I can make happen here, and make the damn comeback. Does Umbry have that mental fortitude? I don't know. I'd like to give her the benefit of the doubt, but like I said, I just don't know her well enough in that way. But she's going to have to figure out something. We're obviously behind them in real time. I'm just waiting for it to play out, but we saw the GGs on the screen a hot minute ago, and don't worry, Game 3 hasn't started. I'll click into that if and when it does. But yeah, just letting it play out. They, like I said, clearly were playing faster than we were since we're not skipping animations, but Umbry packed this one in a hot minute ago. What adjustments will she make going into a third game, which just started, so we'll skip to end. Man, that took forever. Turn 129 was ultimately the end there. We were way behind. All right, here's game 3. Umbry is going to need to rattle off 3 wins in a row to find her spot in the grand finals against H-Clat. SoulWind with 3 opportunities to close her out and earn his spot against H-Clat in the grand finals. And SoulWind is deviating. He is not playing TSS, which has won for him 2 games in a row. He has switched it up to a physical or mixed offense, which is almost certainly going to throw Umbry for a loop. But one thing that Umbry does have going for her immediately is that she's got Milo into Mence, which Milo is largely considered the best and safest Salamence counter, so at least a little bit of good matchup for Umbry in the early going here. Can't even think about Game 4 or Game 5 if you're Umbry. There is no Game 4, there is no Game 5, unless you win this game. So in her seat, she just has to take it one game at a time and see what she can do to win this game and go from there. Selby comes in threatening Leech Seed maybe on Lax, but it could just get it immediately blown up on. And it's going to be return. So 47%, good chunk, but Selby's going to get a lot of that back with the Leech Seed. After the Leech Seed, Selby is going to be at the magic number. Does SoulWind click boom now, though? Maybe later. SoulWind has been pretty damn patient throughout the series and has not felt the need to pull triggers immediately. Even if he knows that he's going to have to make a play at some point, he's been really good and really disciplined about not feeling panicked and not, I got to do it right now. He realizes he can set up the exact same sequence later. Let's just take the more conservative route, be safe, let things play out a little, go from there. Alright, so Salamence showed Brick Break, and it also has lefties, so obviously you can rule out Choice Band. Brick Break with lefties almost always means a mixed Mence, so I think that's what we're looking at here. And Hidden Power there. Interesting, that's not HP Grass. Hidden Power Flying? What kind of Mence? Is this a DD Brick Break Mence in the lead position? It could be. This could be a physical offense with Magneton in the back for SoulWind. Now that I've seen Hidden Power Flying, I actually suspect that is the case. I think this is a DD Mence with Brick Break, probably over Rock Slide, but could be over Earthquake. But either way, and I think we're looking at a Magneton in the back on what is a physical offense team for SoulWind. SoulWind takes a chance to try to get a crit on the Milo, which I think is a good play. It's just there's no downside. Milo always recovers there, so why not do it? Such high upside if you land the crit there. Milo just dies, and Umbry is in shambles. It doesn't come, but I like the play. T-Tower is going to come down for SoulWind. Because I believe this is a physical team rather than a mixed team, this very well may be a DD. Just kidding. Pursuit also makes sense because both Gengar and Salamence want Gengar to not be there, so that makes sense as well. And now Lax reappears on a Surf. At some point it's just going to click boom, but I don't know that he should do it this turn. Return, sure. Well, now's a good opportunity to boom because Umbry is almost certainly going to Leech Seed or recover here. So if you want to trade with the Celebi, this is a great time to do it if you're SoulWind. Recover. A lot of discipline. There's return with a crit. Again, you have the opportunity to trade if you want it. Umbry's not going to go to T-Tar here. But SoulWind pushes the issue, gives Umbry a lot of respect, knows that she's very capable of going to Skarm or Tar or what have you on the boom turn. So SoulWind giving her a lot of respect. Recover. Man, return again. He's almost selling it that it's Curse, Return, EQ, Rest, Lax, but I'm not buying it. I still think it has boom. I mean, SoulWind knows this is go nowhere, so is he just conditioning her to believe that there really, truly isn't a boom? T-Tar sneaks in, and BP is going to make it so Pursuit is irrelevant. SoulWind knows that and goes for Crunch, and that is going to be underwhelming against Milo at 24%. Aggressive route for Umbry, not going to let T-Tar stay in for free. It's the Lax again who's starting to get low. Fair enough. All right. So Cursed Return, almost certainly EQ, and Rest Lax paired with a Pursuit Tire, which obviously needs a Magneton in the back. So if we were unsure that it's there, you should be pretty damn sure now. There's gonna be a Magneton for SoulWind. Whether or not Umbry has a Scarm, I'm not sure. Ooh, and there's the weather reset for SoulWind, busting out Ludicolo. This actually looks like a Johnny G2 team that he posted in his team dump when he was eliminated. I believe Johnny actually showed me this team and was planning to run this or something very similar to this against SoulWind, and SoulWind may have poached that team. I like this squad quite a bit, and I think that is what it is. I think this is the Johnny G2 team. That turn is terrible for Umbry. Anytime Magneton, without Charcoal of course, goes for HP Fire against Fori, Fori actually has a 3 out of 4-ish chance to survive that and then go for EQ or what have you. But Umbry on the bad end of that roll is going to instantly get her Fori popped. Yeah, there's the doll. So this is actually... So this is Magdoll plus Weather Changer all in on Lax for SoulWind. It could be a DD-Mence, but it actually might just be a Wish-Mence with Brick Break and HP Flying, which actually makes a lot of sense because you're so boned by Heracross, Medicham, things along those lines if you don't have a dedicated check. Like a Heracross just 6-0s you if not for that Mence. It plows through every other Mon. So yeah, for SoulWind we are looking at a Magdoll Weather Changer all in on Lax. Lax being Curse Return, EQ Rest. And I applaud SoulWind for bringing this. It's a pretty big deviation from what he's been doing. And gonna keep Umbry on her toes, throw her for a curve. Claydol did get eaten by Crunch for Umbry, so brings us to a 5-5. Celebi gonna come in on HP Fire here. Should be okay. BP's out immediately though. And T-Tar comes in on HP Fire, which is gonna get a crit. But it's still good for Umbry. She gets the tempo here, eats a T-Bolt, and Fire Blast will end the day for Magneton. So Umbry gets what I believe, without looking back at the other two games, her first Mons lead of the entire series, of the entire match. Umbry is going to be up 5-4. Do you see what happens when SoulWind doesn't bring TSS? What the fuck, Mon? What the fuck? Gotta stick to the TSS. Toxic Mist there, bad for Umbry. Not big punishment, the crunch is whatever, but the Toxic on Tar obviously would have been good. Recover and crunch again. Man, Milo actually seems really difficult for SoulWind. Oh boy, SoulWind's already making it unlisted. Did SoulWind forfeit this game? The Lax is really good against Umbry as well, but the Celebi can check it. And SoulWind doesn't really have a good way to remove that Celebi. That's the problem. There's no Doug. The Salamence threatens it, but Umbry's never going to let that happen. The Pursuit Tower, which normally could be decent against Celebi, is totally useless here because the faster Celebi can just baton pass away. Like I said, turn 44 here. I don't see the GGs, but I do see that SoulWind made the replay unlisted, which is what he usually does at the end of the game. So I'm wondering if SoulWind actually conceded this game, or at least sees it as near the end. They could be way ahead of us in real time. We haven't seen the GGs, but remember last game, they were like 30-plus turns ahead of us in real time. Heh. I think Umbry's going to take this one. I think the Celebi is just a real bitch. The only win condition for SoulWind is the Lax, and because it's a non-boom Lax, it just doesn't beat the Celebi. It just doesn't. But I'm not seeing the GGs, so I'm going to continue commentating this one as though it's not over, because it very well may not be. Certainly the attack raise there for Umbry is not what SoulWind wants either, but she's then going to miss, and there's a big Earthquake and a crit, so how quickly things can turn. Hold your horses. We may not be done at all. Umbry might be done. If anything, we're caught up in real time. This is not over. Oh, this is coming apart so fast. A miss and a crit, and then all of a sudden Celebi's dead. It gets Leech Seed off, but at what cost? Umbry in shambles now. Crunch gets off, and there's EQ. The whole team is going down like dominoes for Umbry. Aerodactyl or bust. Rock Slide. Crit or flinch, please. Nope. Rest gets off. Umbry is going to have to get there with Arrow. It's a legitimate threat here, but man, SoulWind is threatening the outright sweep in this position. Salamence does get foddered to the Arrow. Now T-Tar, though. There's the withdraw on the pursuit for 51%. Not going to be able to do that again. Here's the Milo check. We've got a tight late game here at 3-2. Ludicolo comes in and instantly gets poisoned. That's going to be the end of that Mon. Ludicolo cannot and does not handle status. That's one of the biggest problems with the Mon. And Umbry has no choice but to stay in with Milo. You lose Arrow, you lose the game. Can't risk coming into the Surf or even the HP Grass. Does Umbry make the amazing read and switch to Aerodactyl on this turn? It would have been so good, but she's not able to pull the trigger. This is a hyper close late game. Aerodactyl and Lax. Do you Rock Slide? Do you EQ? Worried about the Tar? She doubles to Milo and catches the Ludicolo. SoulWind attempts to fodder it, but Umbry doesn't allow it. What a clutch late game this has become. Surf is so underwhelming with the 4x resistance from Ludi, but the poison is still chipping away. Here's the Lax double back. Does Umbry make the Arrow play? She does not. She recovers. The Lax is due to wake up after killing one more sleep turn. Here's Arrow, and there's that sleep turn. So Lax due to wake up next turn. Umbry is going to have to play out of her mind to get there. She goes to Milotic, and that is the correct play. Ludi gets foddered, leaves us in a 2-2. And Umbry is going to disconnect anticlimactically. What a terrible ending that would be. I'm going to assume she's going to be back momentarily, but what a weird time for the DC. Kills all my hype and momentum. Alright, she reconnects, and she surfs, and SoulWind goes for Rain Dance to support that last poke Lax. Awkward as hell. That also makes the surf stronger, ironically. And I think Umbry is obligated to surf again here. I can't imagine that you switch to Arrow. You've got to take the boosted surf here. She agrees, 24%. And the obligatory surf for SoulWind. There's going to be some RNG in this late game. Very well may come down to Aerodactyl needing crits or flinches or what have you. Of course, Milotic can just crit a surf right here and the game is over. But there's going to be some RNG, and that RNG is going to have to go Umbry's way, or it's going to be SoulWind taking this down in a 3-0 sweep. Umbry, I think, was hoping for rest there. Not happy to find another curse. And now it might just be done. Milotic is going to need an insta-crit surf, an Ice Beam freeze, or a hypnosis. None of that occurs, and I think it's over. I don't think it's possible for Milotic to break through the Lax anymore, and I think SoulWind has 3-0 swept Umbry. Waiting a moment to make it official, I'm seeing the GG, and I'm seeing GG's. I believe it is done. And there is the concession. The underdog, according to the predictions. You guys thought Umbry was going to take this. Underdog SoulWind not only beats Umbry, but 3-0 sweeps Umbry and books himself a date with H-Clat in the grand finals, who he is going to have to beat twice in best-of-5 sets to be the unexpected CALLOUS Invitational 6 champion. Umbry, with a fantastic run, is going to be our third-place finisher and take home more than $500 for her efforts. A player that I'm a very big fan of and really believe in. Really, really like Umbry and think that she's very good across multiple tiers. Hats off for her run. Very, very respectable. But the grand final that you guys are going to be seeing next week is going to be SoulWind and H-Clat in a best of 5, playing for over $1,250 to the champion. And a custom avatar while we're at it. I hope you guys are excited for that match. I know that I am. Do leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and just if you've enjoyed Callous Invitational as a whole so far. And I will see you guys next week for that matchup.